North Korea has detained 4 officials over the failed launch of its second naval destroyer, an incident that leader Kim Jong Un has called a result of criminal negligence. Well, the 5,000-ton warship tipped onto its side during a launch ceremony last week, and satellite images show the vessel partially submerged and draped in blue covers. And despite official claims the damage is not serious and will take just 10 days to fix, outside experts say flooding in the engine room and structural damage could take more than a year to repair. Let's talk about this with Aidan Foster-Carter, a Korea expert at the University of Leeds in the UK. So to start us off, what does the imagery tell us that North Korea won't?
Oh dear, North Korea, more than most, well, nobody likes it when something goes wrong, but North Korea, perhaps of all countries, they put such a premium on everything being perfect, everything being on display, all the mass parades, this and that. And so for a very public, very visible, we can all see it on the satellite imagery that's there on the screen. And indeed, it was a launch that was attended by Kim Jong Un in person. So my goodness me, you can imagine that he wasn't pleased. So we know that many people may think it's a bit of a relief because they have so many very powerful weapons that they, particularly missiles and weapons of mass destruction, that they launch rather successfully. It's kind of nice when something goes wrong. I hope that isn't a malicious thing to say, because it is a rather malicious regime. So clearly their warship department is not doing terribly well.
So you're saying schadenfreude from the international community to having seen this gone wrong. Why do you think that North Korea even admitted that there was a failure at all, given their obsession with making sure that everything goes properly? Is Kim trying to send a message here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there are some failures that are simply too big and too visible to conceal. And to be fair, they have admitted some failures before. The main other sphere would be their efforts, eventually successful, to launch a military reconnaissance satellite, a spy satellite. In 2023, was it? They had 2 failures, which they admitted. In the past, they used to say that they had put satellites up which were broadcasting the song of General Kim Il-sung to a happy world, and nobody could actually see or hear these things. But so they do admit some failures. But this one, I mean, as witness, you've got the image up there behind us. I mean, everybody can see that this thing didn't launch. They launched it sideways, which apparently hasn't been done for a warship before. They built it, by the way, at an East Coast port. They'd had a successful launch a month earlier on the West Coast port of Nampo. That's the shipyard that has the experience with building warships. But this shipyard at Chongjin on the East Coast isn't known to have done a large warship before. It's done fishing vessels and things like that. And they launched sideways. I'm sounding like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know the technical side. But clearly, it's tricky launching sideways, and the bogies at one end clearly failed. So half of it went into the sea, and half of it remained on the ramp, and it's broken, and it's going to be an awful mess. And I feel very, very sorry for the people who are responsible for it, because this is a very unforgiving regime and a very unforgiving leader.
Exactly. The detention of senior shipyard and military officials shortly after. What does that tell us about the kind of internal pressures within this regime?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is, I guess everybody knows that North Korea is an extreme tyranny. They have a network they have a gulag, to use the Soviet Stalinist expression. They have a network of labor camps. Again, satellite imagery has made an enormous difference. We now, it's not just sort of talking about these things are rumored to exist, rare people have escaped. You can see them. If you want to go online, look up North Korean gulag labor camps, they'll find these things. So, whereas somewhere else, you might lose your job, you might be fined, you might be disciplined. It's possible that a number of these people, they might be shot, they might be sent to these camps, and their families as well. I mean, again, that's sort of a uniquely barbaric way of doing things. I do speculate, but I speculate on the basis of how things have happened before in North Korea. So it is a setback, and this is a regime, I say, that doesn't take failure lightly.
And how much of a setback is it really? I'm curious if you could put into context for us how important naval power is in North Korea's broader military strategy.
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm thinking maybe not very. We haven't, or maybe this is an area where they were trying to catch up and have had a setback. Broadly speaking, over the past years and indeed decades, the way that North Korea has tried to counter what would otherwise be the overwhelming superiority of that. They've got South Korea, which is a far richer, far more developed country. South Korea, by the way, a country which is now the world's leading shipbuilder, and it looks as if one of the ways they're going to try and deal with Trump's tariffs and find something the Americans want is that South Korea is going to be building warships for the US Navy or refurbishing naval yards. So that's what they're up against. And with the US being a strong military ally to South Korea, the most powerful army and military in the world. So North Korea has mostly tried to project asymmetric force.
Indeed.
So they've gone for the weapons of mass destruction.
Well, thank you
nuclear
so
weapons
much.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not clear.
Listen,
Sorry.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to jump in because that's all we've got time for at the moment. But thank you so much for sharing your expertise with
Sure.
us. That is Aidan Foster-Carter with Leeds University.